Okay, this is video 3 of the CLA250 with the broken valve spring. I got down this far. The head is out. I had 3 manifold studs that were snapped off. They were snapped off, 2 of them at least, for a long time. They were rusty on the end of them where they had been snapped. So I got one of them out, no problem. I got the second one out pretty easy, no damage. The third one, my easy out broke off. My tap reverse broke. So I've got a buddy who has an EDM machine, and what an EDM machine does is it basically burns down in the hole with precision, and it'll burn that old tap out of there, and we can get back to 51%, which is 51% meaning we're going back together. Now you can see that the chain guide can stay in there, and that keeps the chain from falling in there, but later you're going to want to hook it up when you're working to put stuff back together. I need to clean everything. This is 50% right here. If we get the head, we'll be back going towards putting it back together. A lot of this stuff just needs to be loose enough to barely move in there because it attaches to the cylinder head. Okay? And these right up here, they just need to be just enough to move because they attach to the cylinder head in these places. All that stuff can stay. You need to be very careful about how you lay it back in there. And you need to have a good memory, which I do, or make yourself some notes and pictures. But you can see the throttle body's gone right there. And that's just the intake manifold laying there loosely. It's loose. I'm going to stuff rags down in here and scrape everything nice and neat and clean everything and not try to contaminate my coolant, which is down in there. And then, of course, I'm going to flush it when I put it back together, but I just don't want a bunch of extra oils and everything. As you can see, when you're doing this, I would do a thermostat, because there's the thermostat right there. There's almost no way to get to it without taking that intake manifold loose. So I would suggest doing one if you have any doubts, but I'm not going to do one because I can replace it myself. Most automotive shops are going to tell you to do it. You should. Here's about a $10 valve spring that caused the whole problem. That's what started this whole situation. There's some new M7 manifold studs. Here's the one just like the one that snapped off, 3 of them. From Mercedes, you'll notice it doesn't have the collar in there. I tried and argued and talked about it for 45 minutes down there, and I'll use these. You just got to know when they've touched, and don't crank them down in there and pop them through the back of your cylinder head. I would prefer the ones with this stop, but it's no big deal if you know what you're doing. There's a few bolts that I'm going to replace with the caps bolt instead of the reverse Torx, because it's just a lot easier. You can get a wrench in there instead of having to stick a Torx socket in there. There's a few I'm going to do like that. To go back together, you'll need the valve spring, or excuse me, the camshaft hold down tool to remove the variable valve timers if you want to, but definitely to hold it into place right here when you're going to tighten your timing chain down. This holds both your cams exactly where they need to be with no slack at the top, and then the slack in the chain is taken up down there with the tensioner. I found you can get the cams out without having to take that apart. They can take the tensioner loose, get the chains as their most slack, the chain at its most slack position, and you can tilt it up just like this, very easy, and the chain, as you've seen over there, will still stay in there. But you'll need that tool if you're going to replace these. See that right there, that safety Torx in the middle, which this is actually a magnet, activates that and pulls that in and out. But that safety 100 Torx there, if you're going to remove these variable valve, you're going to need that tool without a doubt. And you're going to need it to hold down when you put it back in there on this spot right here. As you can see, these spots right here, That's where the hold down tool will hold the camshafts in the correct position. There's my bolts. Made a little template. If you replace the head in one of these cars, you're going to have to replace the valve cover. It goes with it. They're matched and machined together. This surface right here, if it's been machined at a machine shop on the valve, and on the cylinder head, then this right here is going to be too narrow for your camshafts to move. So these are together. They always have to be as a set. And I would assume you'd have to get it from a very high-end machine shop, or hope that the original one didn't need that side machined any. And there's all my parts, all bagged and labeled. There's everything but my one broke valve spring. There's each valve. Those little flags have a number on them. I'm going to put them back in the same holes, exhaust and intake, that they came out of. And as you can see, I got them soaking in clean motor oil so they don't get rusty. You'll need one of those to put the valves back in the cylinder head. You can just old school and punch them down to get them out without doing any damage, but to put them back in without doing damage to your valves or your high dollar cylinder head, you're going to need one like this for this little M270. Check out, I put a pop bottle cap or a water bottle cap on the end of there. So this touches your valve and this goes against your holder here with the cylinder head here in between. Well, this is just to keep from scratching. It works perfect. So we'll wrap it up here. I'm waiting to get the cylinder head back from my buddy so we can go back together. I don't see any surprises. I'm going to clean them all up. That's just me wiping that one with a rag. That one's untouched. 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 I will say the intake valves at 106,000 miles are filthy on one of these. I could not get mal for both. The cylinder valve the head gasket and all that, and all the accessories that go with it. I had to go with L-ring, which there's nothing wrong with L-ring. I would have just preferred to go with L-ring and L-ring, or mal and mal, but it is what it is. Here's the L-ring number. Here's the mal number. Here's your little accessories that hold down your manifold bolts to keep them from coming off. There's a valve spring if anyone wants to know. Caused me all my problems. I'm going to use Ultra Black instead of Durco or the Mal, because I've talked to 4 or 5 people and they said that this is easier to come out of the can and make your perfect bead, and it's just as strong. So hope we didn't ramble on too long. 8 minutes and 34 seconds. But this can be done, and I'll detail it more as we're going back together. The other videos I've seen are not in English and they don't go into any kind of detail. So if this helps anybody out, that's all I'm doing it for. I know it's been a headache for me over a $10 valve spring, but life will do that to you. I'm out.